Good morning, class, and welcome to our lesson today. Last week we started our topic Animalia and our subtopic Amphibians. And we mentioned all the animals that belong to the class Amphibians and all the characteristics. Today we want to look at the differences between frogs and salamanders. They belong to the same class, but they have some differences, and that's what we want to look at. I want us to look at this image here. We have a salamander here and we have a frog here. If we look at these images, we can identify some differences. That is morphological. When I say morphological, it means it is the ones we can see without dissecting the animal. What you can see when that animal is standing there. For example, look at this salamander. Look at the size compared to this frog. Look at their posture. This one now it is standing, but look at the posture it has compared to the frog. And again, look at the toes. You can see the toes there in the water. And look at these toes of this frog. These are some of the differences we want to mention today. We want to learn, and we have listed them here below. For example, look at the frog, the size. The frog is short and the salamander is long. We say that a frog has a short vertebral column. So we normally say when an animal has a short vertebral column, that animal is short. The shorter the vertebral column, the shorter the animal. And when you compare the two, you can see that this salamander is long compared to this frog. We look at the presence of tail. Frogs, they lack tails in adult. Why we say in adult is because the larval stage of a frog, they have a tail. That is a tadpole. But the adult does not have a tail. But the salamander, they have a tail. So you can see a salamander here. It has a tail, but the frog does not have a tail. That's another difference. Then we look at the number of toes. A frog has 4 toes both in hind and forelimbs, while a salamander has 4 toes in forelimbs but 5 toes in hind limbs. I want us to look at this image here. When look at the salamander, it has the hind toes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When look at the frog, the hind toes are 1, 2, 3, 4. Then when you look at the 4 limbs, they have 4 toes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the frog also has 1, 2, 3, and 4. So meaning that the frog, both the hind limbs and the 4 limbs have the same number of toes. But for salamander, the ones at the back, these ones, the hind limbs, they have 5 toes and the 4 limbs have 4 toes. Then we look at the posture, how they stand. The posture of a frog is landing, while the posture of a salamander is horizontal. Look at this. This frog is not vertical, neither is it horizontal. It is in between. And that's why we say the posture is slanting. But for the salamander, you can see the salamander has a horizontal posture when it stands. So that's another difference. And then we look at the toes, the webbed toes. The frogs have a web in between their toes, while the salamander, they don't have a web in between their toes, so their toes are separated. When you look at this image here, you can see that the frog has a web. In between the toes, there is this flesh here. There's a web. But when you look at the salamander, the toes are very well separated. Those are the few characteristics we can identify when you look at it morphologically. These two animals, a frog and an amphibian. And so it will be very good for us to go home and look at other morphological differences between a frog and salamander. Go and look at the eyes and see whether there is a difference between how the eyes of a frog look and how the eyes of a salamander look. So that is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much and may God bless you.